Gig Gab, episode 481 for Monday, May 12th, National Limerick Day, 2025. Greetings, folks, and welcome to Gig Gab, the show by, for, and about working musicians here in Durham, New Hampshire. I'm Dave Hamilton, and my guest co-host today, well, these guys have been tearing it up for 15 years as the Mallett Brothers Band, playing their brand of honest American music right from over the border in Maine. Their latest album, Higher Up in the Hills, came out on April 4th, and they've even collaborated with Chuck Leavell. Yes, that Chuck Leavell from the Rolling Stones. And if the name sounds familiar, their dad is the folk artist David Mallett. That's right. Today, we've got both Will and Luke Mallett with us. Will, Luke, thank you so much for taking your time and hanging out with us today.
Oh, thanks for having us. Yeah, we
absolutely.
Appreciate it.
So tell me your story about, like, you're an original band that's been cranking it out in Maine for over a decade. Maine is not the place most of us think of for an original Americana band to, maybe it starts, but it doesn't stay there. And it doesn't remain successful there. So what's that story like? How has that worked for you? I mean, clearly it's worked. How have you made it work for you?
Well, I think part of it is just tenacity. I mean, I think we're hitting 15 years now, but it took a really long time. You know, we were doing this for a long time before we could even consider quitting day jobs and figuring out how to make a living. It took 10, 12 years before we were making something that we could actually buy groceries with. And I think we're kind of lucky that Maine is the kind of place that is super supportive. Just being a band from Maine, we find Mainers everywhere we go. They're just excited to rally around the band and rally around our home state and be supportive that way. And I think it's all about just the dedicated fans, it's more about having those 2,000 super fans that come to every single show and buy everything that we sell. And they're keeping us afloat, really. And it's just the difference between working, grinding musician and not. I think you can do that from anywhere. There's a music scene in every city. There's people need that everywhere you go. So, I think it's very possible to do it from anywhere, but we also kind of started this band and developed in kind of the changing climate of the industry, where the internet really went from the birth of Spotify all of a sudden, and the birth of Facebook even, and Instagram and Reels and all of this new stuff that we're trying to navigate. We were coming up while that stuff was just starting to happen. We kind of beat that to the punch and had some really dedicated fans that could carry us through the transitions. And we learned really early on, it's just about playing gigs. Really, we like to play. The live show is the thing that we're really relying on to make it sustainable. And we play a lot, and we like to play a lot, and we've got super supportive fans that buy tickets a lot. So wherever you are, you can make that work.
That's great. How many shows a year do you guys wind up playing on average these days?
What is it? 150 or something like that, or 120 maybe?
Maybe 120. Sure. It used to be a lot more. We were a band for a few years that was doing 200 shows a year and not making any money anyway. Now, 15 years later, we can I think we're around 120 shows last year. And that's enough to pay some bills with, which is cool. So it's a little more, it doesn't kill us, really.
That's good. Yeah.
We're not quite at burnout. We've learned how not to burn out, because I think that's possible if you go too hard.
I think there's a key to that, and there's a balance. Did you? There's so many questions I want to ask. but I'll throw this one to Will. But Luke, if you want to answer too, that's totally fine. Will, did you find any keys to avoiding that burnout? Like, are there some tricks that you learned other than ratcheting the schedule back a little bit? But even still, 125 gigs or 120 gigs a year is still a lot. Like that's 10 a month. Yeah.
Yeah. Especially in the summer, we've learned to kind of move with the seasons a little bit. So summer will be super, super busy and we'll just kind of roll with it. And then, like we used to worry about, we want to fill the schedule all the time. So it would be like January, February, we'd still be trying to go, down to like New Haven, Connecticut and like fill the calendar up or whatever. These days we do a little bit of like, when the season's slow, let's just roll with it. We'll chill out. We'll take a little bit of time off. Otherwise, like we do things a little more comfortably now. Like, we spent years like sleeping on floors, bringing tents, camping out on tour, that kind of stuff.
Yep.
Some rugged stuff. Like, I remember camping in Texas a bunch of times. One time crawling into my tent and there was an alligator like 50 feet away at the edge of this lake. And I'm looking at his eyes crawling into my tent.
Dude.
And like, that was rugged,
Rolling so into gigs and venues smelling like camp smoke all the time.
Yeah.
Smelling like hot dogs on a fire.
Yeah, but funny rugged stuff, but we're a little more comfortable these days. And so that helps, everybody gets a bed in a hotel room, get a good night's sleep. Try to eat good, that kind of stuff makes it like more fun to be on the road gigging and also more, more sustainable because you don't, kill yourself. Like
I do know.
Yeah.
I haven't spent as much time on the road as you guys, but I spent some time on the road with a band called Hypnotic Clambake out of Boston for a while. And
it's a good name.
It is a great name. I agree. Yeah. But yeah, those nights where we didn't have the bus nearby or whatever, and we had to kind of make do with either coming up with it on our own or, beg borrowing from fans. Like, do you have a couch or whatever?
Yeah.
It's not sustainable. Like you said, you wind up, if you don't get a good night's sleep, you don't eat well, like eventually that catches up with you and it doesn't take very long. Yeah.
Right. And it's fun for a little while, but it's like, you gotta, as you get older too, you just gotta be, watch out for your health and stuff like that. So
absolutely. Do you, let's see. How do you carve out time for your families, or do you just kind of let those ebbs and flows, those natural ebbs and flows of the seasonality of the schedule sort of buy that time for you, or are you also intentionally kind of taking time out for your families?
It's a little bit of both. Like my wife is a teacher, so she has summers off, and like vacations. And so sometimes we'll be going on the road when she's on vacation.
Yeah.
Other times we're busy, but she'll like, I was telling you before we hit record, I got a toddler and another one on the way. So that's kind of new developments. But, so in the summer when we're super busy, she's home, with the kids. So it kind of works out.
That's good.
Like that. But otherwise we're home, quite a bit when we're just rolling with the seasonality of it so that, we don't feel like we're gone too much. And our families are all just real cool and supportive and kind of cheering us on anyway. So it works out.
Did you find when you were doing 200 gigs a year that you were oversaturating in some places, playing too frequently, and therefore not making as much money per gig as you could make as you scaled things back? Or was that not a concern as you did that?
I think we were traveling further.
Got it.
And we were maybe overreaching. At the time, it's not, I don't want to call it overreaching because I don't think we were at the time. We were like a new band and we were like getting out there. So we were doing trips out to Colorado and Texas like more than two times a year, maybe 3 times a year going to Texas. And then when you're doing that, you have to fill in a whole week on the way there. And then you have to hang out for 5 days. And then you have to fill a whole week on the way back. And we were just doing that. And so we were not necessarily oversaturating the Northeast. That which is where we've ended up kind of settling. I mean, we
Sure.
kind of have this Northeast circle that keeps us busy, and we can work weekends. We go out 3 days a week and we're home the rest of the weekdays. And it's kind of just a reverse office hours
Yeah, right.
situation.
Yeah.
But before it was like, yeah, if you're going to go somewhere, you have to fill every day on the way there.
Yeah, you got to pay for your travel.
You got to pay for your travel. And that became impossible when you're trying to make 3-week trips work out, which is what we used to do. And we were also booking ourselves. Which
I was going to ask, did you work with a manager or anything on that?
Then.
Wow.
Not back then, but we have, and we still self-manage the band, but we have a great booking agent we've been with for 4 or 5 years now.
Yeah.
Quite like we've been working with him quite a while, and that made everything feel a little more organized. He's really good at having it structured and having it routed properly and knowing what the drives are in between gigs and knowing when a gig is. He'll tell me in an offer, this probably isn't worth the drive, kind of thing.
That's great.
That helps.
That's somebody good to have.
Think about that stuff. And early on, you don't think about it or you don't care at all. It's like, all right, we're going to play Friday night. It's 12 hours to the next gig because that's the only one we could get. So we're going to get in the van after this gig at 2 a.m. and drive for 4 hours, sleep for 3 hours, and then finish the drive to make it there by sound check. Like, we used to not be scared of that stuff. And now it's just, we don't want to.
You've done it.
Too much. Yeah, we did it for a long time. And there's just always more chance of disaster. There's more chance of missing the gig. You have a breakdown. Like, you never know what's going to happen. So try and build yourself enough leeway that at least, you can get to gig 1, 2, and 3, and 4 without sitting in the booth for like 15 hours in between them, kind of thing.
Does your booking agent book everything for you, or are you managing kind of some of the closer to home stuff and letting your booking agent do bits and pieces? Is it a blended arrangement, or you give them everything and let them kind of manage?
I give him everything. I give him everything. And so we do like a small handful of trio gigs sometimes. And me and my brother were, a few years ago, we were doing a handful of like songwriter things with our dad. And even that stuff, I'll throw it to Dell because it's worth it. I just want it in his system. I want all the email chains to be in the proper order. It's just so organized. And he's not here, which is the other cool thing. And it speaks, I think, to being a band from Maine, like we were talking about earlier, how you make that work and make it sustainable here. He's in Atlanta. Our guy Dell is in Atlanta. And it doesn't matter because we're all working on our computers every day and shooting ideas back and forth and talking to venues back and forth, and you can kind of
and even being based in Atlanta, he's got the network so that it doesn't matter. Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
The network is there. You can reach all of these people. I think we had, when we first started, like, okay, it's time, we need a booking agent because we've been doing this for ourselves for too long, and it's like become impossible to email people while driving the van, and like when stuff does come up empty, it's just like crisis time. So it's nice to have him on the job. But
we've talked about booking agents on the show a few times before. We actually had a woman named Laura Supan on who is a booking agent, and she made it really clear what her job was and wasn't. And her whole thing was, I am not the person that is in charge of putting butts in seats. I can book you the gig. Right? And is that, is that the same with the person you're working with? It's a very clear distinction between what they're doing and what you're responsible for. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. And I think that's like an age old thing.
Yeah.
I just saw a post. I won't mention the venue, but I thought it was a funny post. And it was on some venue's Instagram reel, and it was this whole little mini story about the promoters in the office, and she's low ticket sales. She calls the guy up. Are you doing this to promote your show? He's like, no. Are you posting on Facebook? He's like, no. Are you calling your friends? He's like, no. And then they all go outside and kick his ass on the porch. It was just, I'm watching this from a venue, and it's like, we run into that all the time. Like, the venue wants to make money and they want to fill the seats. And hopefully if you get an advance from a venue that's like pro, and these are your media contacts, and this is the promo stuff that we need, and this is the schedule of announcement, and et cetera, and everything's laid out, that you're going to be in good hands and you got something to work with.
Yeah.
same with us. Like a venue expects a band to like do whatever it is that they can do. Will is really good with like the video stuff. We've got, as often as we can, we have like venue specific promo reels that we can throw out. We've got lots of video stuff we can pick and choose from. We try and keep the schedule like up there on the site and up to date and tickets ready to go and just make it easy for people to find them. So it's very much shared responsibility, I think, between the venue and the bands. It's not the booking guy's job. Your job is to fill the schedule, and then you do what you can do with it, and then you can decide if it was worth the effort and you want to do it again or not. And that's a conversation you have with the agent afterwards.
Makes perfect sense. Yeah. No, that's that, and that's a good reminder for everyone that it's at when it works at its best. The promotion for the gig is a collaboration between the band and the venue, and you each do what you can do, and you help each other, and you communicate, and you do all the things. So, Will, it sounds like you are the one who takes the point on creating those promo materials, and probably all the stuff on your socials and all that. Am I right about that? And if so, like,
for the most part,
what's the formula here? Yeah.
Oh man, I'm trying to figure it out all the time,
Well, that's part of it. Yeah.
It's also always changing because a couple years ago you could do like a sponsored post targeted to a region. Say we're going to Durham, New Hampshire, and we got a show in Durham, New Hampshire. You can target Durham, New Hampshire, people that like bands like ours or whatever. But a couple years ago you could do a photo, like your promo photo. And you can still do that, but it's not going to get the algorithm love that a video is going to get, like, and specifically a reel. So like it's trying to keep up with that stuff is a challenge. So, so we've been trying to do more reels lately, but then to get more reels, you need a videographer to come to more shows and get more video content that you can use and so on and so forth. But, I'll do some of it on my own and some of it I'll do with the rest of the dudes in the van when we're just riding around. Like, what's our strategy? And we're trying to kind of visit our strategy like constantly, so we'll do a blast for a couple months, and then those couple months start getting towards the end. We got some more stuff to think about. We'll try to re-strategize moving forward I don't know. We're winging it, but trying.
Well, but everybody, every time I talk with anybody who's having any degree of success or even failure, but just not stopping with their marketing, it's always about experimentation, right? Because things are always changing. How deeply are you looking at like the analytics that you get back from your Facebook ads to know? I mean, obviously butts and seats, right? Ticket sales is that's the bottom line, or at least it's the top line. And that's something tangible that you can look at. But are you also really paying attention to those reports that you get from Facebook or wherever else you're posting these things?
Yeah, I'll be trying to look at like, how much money you spent on an ad, and then how many people watched it and how many people clicked on it, and then looking at the updated ticket count from the venue that our booking agent Dell kind of facilitates too. So we can see how views translate to clicks, translate to ticket sales.
Interesting.
And then but then you'll also get like walk up people that might have seen the ad 10 times, didn't pre-purchase a ticket, but then they're talking to us at the show and they're like, yeah, I saw your Facebook ad or whatever. So, so you can kind of keep track of it, but you can't totally keep track of it. But I'm not really meticulous about following that stuff. I kind of try to get the zoomed out big view of like, this kind of content is working, or this kind of targeting is working, or this one's not doing so hot. Why isn't that one? Oh, the text is too big on the video and Instagram doesn't like it, or something like that. So trying to keep a little bit of an eye on that stuff.
It sounds like you're doing all the. I mean, you're not. I think you're not giving yourself enough credit. That
Thanks.
I think you're doing more than the majority of people do. But that just the fact, from what I'm hearing anyway, that when something doesn't succeed, you are willing to accept that there is a way to make it succeed, or at the very least, something to learn from it that you can apply to the next thing. And the key is that relentlessness, that you are not going to just give up on this, because that's where we hear so often. It's like, oh, Facebook ads don't work. It's like, no, let's change the narrative. Facebook ads didn't work yet for you. Right. And once you frame it that way, then it's like, okay, well, how could they work? And Facebook wants your ads to be successful because, then you give them more money.
Right.
So,
and like social media in general too.
In general, I say Facebook, but in general.
Right. But I mean, like with the ads or with just like the strategy of that stuff, a lot of our peers, like including us, we all complain about it. Like we want to be strumming away and like being artists, so everybody that we know that plays in a band or whatever is always complaining about like
100%.
the shit they need to do on Facebook or whatever. And we're right there with you, but also it's like we gotta do whatever we can do to make things work, because what's the alternative, so it's just like use whatever tools are available, do the best job we can, try to learn as much as we can, and then I'm just thinking, like, while we're talking about this stuff too, there's also like we'll try to do posters. We usually outsource posters, like, and get a designer or an artist to do a poster for as many shows as possible, either like a big tour with a lot of dates on it or like an individual show poster. But we'll try to make
and you're
those
talking
cool,
about
I know venues are really excited.
And you're talking about physical posters that you're having made up, not just
physical posters,
graphics that you're posting on social media. These are actual posters.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah. So the graphics are great too, but I know a lot of times if we mail actual posters to venues in the United States Postal Service,
man,
we'll get to the venue and they'll be like, "Thank you for sending these posters. This is great," and they'll have them all over
hanging
the place.
In the bathroom.
They'll have them in the front window, hanging in the bathroom, and like the venues are typically really appreciative of that, which is like an old school thing that we tend to forget. But some of that stuff from back in the day, is still effective too.
Absolutely.
When we're at venues, we'll see posters on the wall. Right.
That's it. What a great way to market to people who are willing to come to that venue, by marketing to the people who are already at that venue. It's just
right.
Yeah, this is your base. These are the people that are going to come out again.
Yes. Yeah. Fascinating. I'm glad to hear that works. Yeah. And I'm glad to hear that venues are excited to receive that stuff and actually do something with it. Because obviously, if it's close to home, you can go and put them up if they're willing to let you. But otherwise, you're relying on them to put up the posters that you've mailed them. So
yeah.
Interesting.
And it also turns into, I know for some people it's way crazier than it is for us, but even for us, it's become like a thing that people look for on the table. So it's like if you're doing this and they've already seen the design and they've seen it, on the internet, or they've seen it at the venue and they show up at the gig and you've got the poster for sale on the table, like it's awesome how many people are going to grab that up. And that automatically is offsetting the cost of the guy that you hired to design the graphic and the guy that you hired to print the posters out. And then you're at least breaking even, and all it is like effort. It's all like sweat equity.
Yeah.
Because that's another thing. If it looks cool enough, people are they're gonna buy it. Like they'll buy it and they'll want a signed one, and that's huge. Like those are the people that really keep it all worthwhile.
Back to your 2000 Superfans.
You got to be able to give them something. Yeah, totally. Have something to give to them.
What a brilliant idea! And I know it's certainly not unique. I mean, you go see touring, like A-list touring bands, and they'll sell you a tour poster, and then you charge you more to sign it, and the whole deal, right? I don't think I've ever heard of a band at your level that's succeeding doing this. And I think this is part of the reason that you're succeeding. Like all of these things combined are the keys to your success. And like the idea of selling your post, of course, why not? I mean, you literally sent a bunch of them to the venue that they put on the wall for free,
Print them
that
out.
people could
They're
tear
going to
down.
sit
Right?
on a shelf and
Yep.
like collect dust, or you can bring them to the show and like throw them on the table
And sell them. Yeah, this is
and
expiring
there are
inventory.
We've
Yeah.
got like super fans. We've got people on like our fan group. I've seen pictures of their man caves, and it's just, you know, our various posters and our handwritten lyrics that we used to sell on the website, and like photos that they took at shows, and they've got walls dedicated to these posters. It's, you know, I mean, it's pretty awesome, because
It's awesome. Yeah.
for us, it's like one more show in a list of shows that we hardly even remember, but for them, this is like a super important memory that they're hanging on their wall in their house forever. So, I mean, I guess
I think it is saying something, and it's amazing when you get that opportunity in your life to be a part of something, especially if it's something you've created, which obviously you have, you know, a part of something that's meaningful to other people. Like that's it's such a privilege, right? And not everybody gets to do it. Not everybody that tries to do it gets to do it. And it's such a privilege when it happens that it's easy to get too humble in those moments. I don't mean that we should all be egotistical jerks or anything, but like you've done, noticing that, hey, wait a minute, there are these opportunities to deepen that engagement with those fans and make some extra money as part of it. Now, you know, each fan is only going to spend X amount on you per year, right? So you gotta balance that and not over soak them. And it clearly you figured that out too. But being willing to say, yes, there is this piece of what we do that means literally nothing to us, or we're in the hole over, right? You have these extra posters, and the idea to say, wait, no. Let's turn around. Let's offer these to people, and the people that want them can come and buy them and make them a part of their memories. I think it's brilliant. And again, it's that bullheaded persistence of just finding ways to keep it moving. I love it.
It's like, go ahead.
Well, just thinking about like how CDs don't sell anymore. Also, like we still sell some CDs, but CD sales are down. So it's like, well,
same, yeah.
It sucks, but what else can we sell? You know, we can still sell.
We got to diversify.
We can sell posters. The margin on posters is better than the margin on CDs, and like so on and so forth. So it's just, you know, kind of figure out something to take the place of the CDs.
Well, and the nice part, not only is the margin better on posters, but you can create more fresh posters per year than you can create fresh CDs per year. I mean, don't get me wrong. I know you're prolific songwriters and all that, but still, you know, it takes a lot to create, even if people were buying CDs. And like, you're right, some are, and the ones that are, it's fascinating when people are like, what, you ran out of CDs? It's like, yeah, because you people don't buy them. Like, well, but we want them.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, we'll print up more, you know.
Somebody wants them.
Somebody always wants them. Yes. Even if it's just something to take, even if they'll never put it in a CD player, something to take home, it's that souvenir. But the poster is a way easier thing for a band to create on a recurring basis than the CD. Yeah. Brilliant. I think it's great. Yeah. Yeah. Fascinating.
Diversify. Just like any other business. It's like the more things you can sell, and the more things you can, you know, just have stuff available for people, whether it's singles or whether it's vinyl records or whether it's posters or whether it's keychains or whether it's 8-tracks, which we did at one point, and it was hilarious, and a bunch of people bought them. So it's never know. Just have stuff for people to take with them. Yeah, they want that.
No, and you're right. Diversify just like any other business, because this is the music business. You know, you talk about being able to put food on your table and quit your day jobs. Well, this is now the business, right? This is the family business.
We met with this lawyer like probably 13 years ago. We met with this lawyer in Nashville. We were like hanging out in Nashville for 4 or 5 days and had like these meetings happening and people we wanted to go sit down with, and somebody put us together with a lawyer. That was like the first thing he said when we walked in the door. He's like, all right, boys, this is the business of music. And it just stuck with me for the rest of my life, the way he said it in that Southern accent. And this is like right on Music Row. We didn't use this guy, like
sure.
We got some good gigs out of that trip and made some friends, but like nothing really crazy happened to our career. But it was a moment. It's like, yeah, okay, so we're a band riding around in a van playing too many gigs for no people half the time and not making any money, and like you gotta think of it in two halves. It can't just be art. I mean, it would be great if it was just art, but it's not. You gotta have some kind of sense of how the business is moving on the other hand. At least a rudimentary grasp of like the accounting that goes into an LLC with 6 people in it. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
And then how to make things work and keep the machine running.
It's easy to be resistant of that. I mean, I've always kind of been in business with various things. So I'm the guy in any band I'm in that winds up getting, like you figure it out, Dave. You run the spreadsheets. It's like, yeah, but we all need to be involved in this. Like, it's not just about the spreadsheet. It's the mindset of why we have a spreadsheet in the first place. Like that's the thing. Like you said, it's the business of art. Yeah. And it like there's some purist view that in me that says, oh, it sucks that we have to say the business of art. But no, it doesn't. Like art, it's okay to have the business part of it.
And in a lot of cases, especially if you're looking at like bigger bands, they've got people to handle that. There is an entire like industry built on handling the business of musicians. Yes. And that's great. And it's super cool. And it's like, for a band like us, we've never had a business manager. We've never had a music manager. We've had a few different booking agents, one of which we've stuck with, but otherwise it's like, this is all on us. Only in the last few years have we gotten like a lawyer involved to do some help. We've got an accountant that does some things. But really it's always been us. And I think if that wasn't something we had been able to figure out pretty quickly, then it wouldn't have stuck. You can't be the band that's like, this isn't going to move forward until we get an agent and we get a manager and we get a label and we get this guy and that guy. You can't sit around and wait for that. You just got
no. It's a startup business. Running a band is totally. Like running a startup. And I do another show for entrepreneurs called Business Brain, where we're really talking about kind of the mindset of success. And a lot of it is just start doing what you don't wait for investors. Don't wait for this. Don't wait for anything. Go. Yeah. And there's all the right things that you're supposed to do, but a lot of it is just action. Take action every single day, grind it out. And is there luck involved? Always. You meet anyone who has had any success and let them tell you their story. And they may not realize where the luck came in, but you can spot it. It's there. But what the luck is an opportunity that crept up at a time when that business, whatever the business is, was prepared to take advantage of it and did. And it happens early enough that you didn't either run out of cash flow or run out of gumption before that opportunity happened. That's the luck. That's it. Yeah. And then you got to take that and use it and run with that too. So, yeah,
absolutely. Yeah. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Be hungry. Get out here and be hungry. You have to be.
That's it. What was it? I've been in the Apple, iPhone, Mac world for a long time. And there was a quote that Steve Jobs loved. He didn't come up with it, but it was stay hungry, stay foolish. And there's something to that. But you came from a family. This wasn't new to you in that sense. Your dad, David Mallett, obviously has been in the music business. How much of that was sort of infused in you to know that, yes, there is this business side of this too from him? And I get silence.
I think quite a bit of it. I remember being a kid, like back in the 90s, he would send out, like pre-email, he would send out little postcards with his tour dates on it to people that signed up for his not his email list, but his physical mail list.
His physical
So
mailing
I remember,
list. Yeah.
yeah, I
sit
remember we'd have like the little labels that he'd print out and we'd stick them on the card, and he might give us $1 or something like that. This is when we were like, I don't know, 8 years old
Yeah.
or something, but
Little
we're
kids.
sticking the stickers on to promote his shows. But there was also like, we lived in Nashville until I was 10 and Luke was 12.
Okay.
And our dad was on a couple of different labels down there, and he worked in some studios, and he kind of got like, he wasn't like super pumped around the time that he left Nashville and we moved back to Maine. He wasn't like super positive about the Nashville machine. So we moved back to his hometown. And then he started recording albums, self-producing them, self-releasing them.
Yep.
And like the first album that he did that he kind of was in total control of, he got his first New York Times review. And it kind of did pretty well. It was like it got some accolades.
Yeah.
And so seeing that happen, that was, I think, my senior year in high school, 2003. The album was Artist in Me. But seeing that happen right as Luke and I were kind of getting out of high school, starting to think about music, and seeing his DIY stuff, kind of like he was having a much better time living in Maine, making his own records, hiring his own musicians, than he was in Nashville, being a part of the machine where people are like, you got a lot of suits telling you what not to do and that kind of stuff. So that was that was kind of formative a little bit.
I bet. Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. I mean, we all have to make our own mistakes, and often we still choose to make mistakes that we watched other people make, because that's just the human condition. But being able to at least avoid some of those or learn lessons from those. I always call mistakes tuition, right? Because that's how we afford to pay for them. But yeah. That's fascinating. That makes a lot of sense. All right. Yeah. I want to ask about Chuck Leavell, because we're all Rolling Stones fans at some level, and Chuck's the MD for the Stones. And so how did the collaboration with Chuck come about? Luke points to Will for anyone listening. That's fine. I'll narrate. I'll narrate the interactions. Yeah.
This one in particular.
So it was kind of funny. My wife is a teacher. She had a parent of one of her students that became a friend. This lady called me up randomly one day when we were loading in Rhode Island to a gig, and she said, Chuck Leavell does a show about forestry, and you guys should be on the show, and I know the producer. And I was like, wait, who's Chuck Leavell? And she's like, he's in the Rolling Stones. And I was like, oh, wait. What are you talking about? And anyway, so I had to kind of look it up. I'm like, forestry, what? So it turns out that Chuck Leavell is, in addition to being a famous keyboardist, he's a famous forestry guy, tree farmer. He has like 1,000-acre plantation in Georgia where they grow lumber. And he has a TV show on PBS called America's Forests with Chuck Leavell. This lady tells me she knows the producer of this show, and she's going to recommend us to be the musical guests on his episode about Maine. So every episode they do a different state, and they were going to be filming an episode in Maine, and it made sense for us to be the main musical guests, especially because we did an album of old logging songs from the 1800s a couple years ago. So it kind of really lined up. So so she puts us in touch with the producer. The producer gets a hold of us. We get it all lined up. I end up emailing with Chuck Leavell. He's like, hey, can you learn Statesboro Blues, Dead Flowers, and there might have been one other one. He's like, and I'll learn The Falling of the Pine from your record called Falling of the Pine, and we'll play those three. And we're like, yes, absolutely. So we met him at Orono Brewing Company. We jammed, did a few songs.
Tiny little stage,
like a TV audience. Like a lot of these people in the audience had won tickets from prior episodes of the show to
Yeah.
come attend this filming. Afterwards, we're eating burgers in the restaurant, and we're like, Chuck, this was a lot of fun. We should do something again sometime. And he's like, absolutely, you know. So we're doing this new album. We're in the studio. Luke's got the song called Dogs and Horses. We're going, this is kind of got like an Allman Brothers band flavor to it. Maybe it could use a little piano or keyboard. And somebody says, why don't we email Chuck Leavell? And I say, haha, you know. Like, I just remember being totally like, there's no way, you know, that's gonna happen. But we ended up sending him an email, and he responded like 5 minutes later, saying that he would do it. So he
was on tour with the boys, but he could get to it when he got back.
Yeah,
so
Amazing.
I think that was his response. Yeah,
So
he was
sent him
emailing
the
my
track.
brother from Rolling Stones tour.
On
Crazy.
tour with the boys. Love that.
Yeah.
What a preposterous confluence of events. I mean, as I asked that question, my assumption, you just finished talking about how your dad had all these contacts when he was in Nashville and this, that, and the other thing. I just assumed it was like, well, my dad knew Chuck, or we ran into this attorney that knew Chuck.
No.
That whole thing that you described
Exactly. Yeah,
is so preposterous. I
mean,
love
it
it.
comes
My
back.
wife's
It's like,
friend, like,
Yeah.
But also, I think it's one more, you know, I've had other people ask us the question, like, talk about how is being a working band that stayed in Maine a hindrance, or how has it slowed you down, or whatever. And my response is always like the opposite. Like, the fact that we've kind of just set ourselves up here in Maine so that we can have a career thanks to Maine. And that's just another example of it. It's like Chuck came here, and we're like, kind of, we've got the hometown vibe thing. You know, the people here really appreciate what we're doing, and they you know, advocate for us. So that goes a long ways in general, just having people name dropping and advocating and telling everyone they know about your band. I mean, that's what we got.
Well, that's it. Yeah. I mean, that story about Chuck would never have happened if you were yet another band that had uprooted yourselves back to Nashville or back to Austin or LA or New York or whatever. Like, you're certainly there are benefits to being close to an industry hub. And then there are things that are not benefits to being close to an industry hub, right? You know,
definitely.
And you've embraced the opposite of that. And now you are the band from Maine, or at least a band from Maine. But
we're a band from Maine. But
I know a lot. Yeah. But you get what I'm saying.
We're lucky enough to be one of the bands from Maine.
Right. But you're one that you have enough success and enough longevity that when someone recommends you to a Chuck Leavell or anywhere else, they're not just seeing, oh, okay, well, who are these people? Like, I don't know. Like, you know, there's.
Yeah. Are they sketchy? Yeah.
Are they sketchy? Yeah. And sketchy can come from just not having enough history, right? It's back to that bullheaded persistence. You're willing to do everything so that you continue to succeed. And that over time really buys you a lot. I mean, you know, like, I've been doing this show for 10 years and it's the same kind of thing. I reach out to people that I should never be able to get on this show. And then they're like, yeah, okay, sure. Yeah. You've been 10 years.
You never know.
Holy crap. You've been doing a podcast that long? Yeah. Actually, I've been doing one for 20, but we'll leave that one. We'll talk about that later. You know, it's like, yeah. So yeah, it's bullheaded persistence. Eventually you kind of become a staple, right? And then that means something.
Yeah.
That's the hope. But all you got to do is outlast. Like
I think statistically, I remember hearing like the numbers. There's some meme that I remember seeing, and it's just running the numbers, and it's like, all right, so 10% of bands are going to make it past their first show, and 10% of those bands are going to make it past their first year, and 10% of those bands are going to make it past the first 5 years, and 10% of those bands are going to make it to 20. And like, if you look at it that way, and at this point we've seen it happen enough times that, it puts you in a category of people that have been, you know, sticking it out. And I think people notice that. Yeah, I think people notice and remember it. And not just industry folks, but other musicians too. Like we know all the
Everybody.
guys that are still going. We've all
Right.
been doing this as long as each other. We all already know that we've done the hard part, the hardship, the one hotel room stuff. We can all relate to each other in that way. So it's cool. The camaraderie is part of that too.
The camaraderie becomes, you're part of a club for lack of a better descriptor. Yeah. I think part of hearing your story here, part of what allows you to continue or allowed you to get to this point is that do-it-yourself ethos, right? The fact that you aren't carrying a huge, corporation or a group of people in addition to yourselves. Like you're able to do this by earning enough to support you, and you aren't trying to carry, 25 other people along with it, some organization that you've just sort of let bloat up over time. And that do-it-yourself attitude can give you a lot of flexibility.
If there's an A&R listening who wants to throw us a record deal and like a big old team full of people, then that's cool too.
Right.
Yeah,
but you will pay for that in the end.
You pay for that in the end.
Yeah,
absolutely.
Not that that's not. There are times when that's a great thing, and where you are now in your career, where you
can't be the only thing.
It can't be the only. Well, and that's. But if you were to bring somebody in now, if a label or whatever version of support you would want, then you've got some history here. And that's an understatement, right? But you've got some leverage in that conversation, as opposed to them just saying, "Well, here's what we think we can do." You say, "No. Here's what we do."
I'm doing. Yeah.
Right.
We can always keep doing it.
We can keep doing it.
We're not really looking to quit.
Right. Exactly. Yeah, we're not looking to quit. So what can you do for us that makes us decide to give you a piece of this next thing that we're going to do together? Yeah, for sure. I before we go, I want to circle back. You said something at the beginning about, how it's about having those 2,000 super fans. And I think that mindset is often overlooked. I know everybody knows about, you just need 1,000 true fans, like the whole thing. But it really is a differentiator. And when you can serve those fans and keep them coming back, that's where careers are born. That's how you change from being, a starving musician to a working musician that really can kind of make it happen and rely on being able to make it happen. And I know you've talked kind of about a lot of the things that you do, the selling of the posters, for example. Are there any other things that you've learned to really serve those 2,000 super fans of yours?
I'm just thinking one quick thing is that, like, you've mentioned mindset a few times, and I'm just thinking about the mindset of, like, I've heard the 1,000 true fans thing in like a marketing sense and in terms of like a kind of like a financial thing, but it's also, I think, important to like think of it as like if you can have 1,000 true fans or 100 or whatever, then that means that what you're doing is really important to those people. And like playing a show or making an album and just realizing that like it's actually like meaningful to like, it doesn't need to be a big hit. It doesn't need to be, you don't need 1 million listeners or whatever, but I don't know, just like, I don't know. I'm kind of thinking that, like, you know what I mean? The mindset of like really appreciating the super fans is important, I think. And also like just helps you to keep going also, like in terms of keeping on.
That fuel. Okay, so let me turn this around a little bit, because I completely get that knowing that your fans are out there and that you have people to quote unquote serve, it can be that fuel, that driving force. So I'm curious, how do you, other than having them come to shows, of course, what other avenues do you open up to allow your fans to kind of communicate that back to you?
I I think one of the big things that somebody told us at one point, we were having like a just business shoot the breeze meeting with an industry buddy of ours here in Portland, and one of the things that he suggested was starting up a fan group situation.
Yep.
And he was basically saying, yeah, you just start it up, you invite a bunch of people, you get these people that kind of will start running it, you just let it go, let it do its thing. And we did that, and it's been maybe 6 years that this group has been running, and it's like, it's unbelievable to see the life that it's taken on of its own without really much of our influence. Like once in a great while, we'll post in there with the new tour date announcements or like the new video that's going to drop. And 90% of the feed is fans discussing the show that they just went to, taking pictures of the set lists, making funny AI pictures based on our song lyrics. It just, whatever it is, it keeps running itself. And these people have just built a community around it, and I think that's,
and this is just Facebook, just a
just
Facebook group. It's not even like an organization or whatever, but
it's run by its own, there's a few people that get to moderate it. We all kind of keep an eye on it and try not to let spam in there and whatever, but it's it's awesome to see the discourse between the fans. And even like just a few weeks ago, we had a show up. It was like our last ski resort gig, kind of. We did Sugarloaf a few weeks ago, and we had a group of people there that are all now in or over the 200 show club, and there's pictures of them with their 200th show signed on the fan group and all the other. It's like super cool. So that's one way like to help validate ourselves, just being able to see what kind of life that's taken on by itself without us feeling like we're on the internet begging and pleading for attention. Because I think that's the thing that a lot of our artists, like,
for sure,
why they hate social media so much, because you just feel like you're begging for.
You answered the question that I should have asked, but not every band figures this out. Not every creator in the world figures this out, be it a podcast or a band, whatever. Is that the key is creating a place not where your fans can share their thoughts with you, but where they can share their thoughts with each other. And then it grows. As soon as you kind of relinquish control of that, it grows beyond you. And it's actually, that group is about them. It's not about you. They all have a shared interest of the Mallett Brothers band. And I mean, that, like you said, that in and of itself is amazing. But these people, they care about each other, right? They coordinate going to shows together. They make their silly AI memes together. They do their things together. These things are for each other, not for you. It's great that you get to see this, but that's really the key, is creating that. And any band that has any amount of success out there, take a look and you'll see that there is some version of their community that just talks to each other, and that's it. The band isn't part of it, or is a very small part of it. Like, like you guys were saying, like you're there, but you're not seeding the content at all. Like that's them. Yeah. Or if you are, it's unintentional. Yeah. It's more fun. Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
It's like the teacher's out of the room, the kids can go crazy or whatever.
No, I notice with the podcast I've been doing for 20 years, it's called Mac Geek Gab. It's like Q&A for Apple users. And we have a Discord group that's got several thousand people in it. And when I pop in there, it's weird because sometimes people will ask a specific question of me, and then I feel obligated to like, oh shoot, I should have been in there to get that. But when I get in there, everybody else kind of quiets down a little bit. It's like it takes a couple days for things to heat back up again. So yeah.
It's interesting.
It's interesting. Yeah. It's fascinating.
It also,
very cool.
For this fan group, it took, I think, a little while for it to get kind of going. So being patient with that. And then we're like, is this silly to have a fan page thing or whatever? But we just kind of let it be. And then after a while, it started to really blossom.
And I think advice for anybody out there who hasn't yet done this, figure out where your fans are, and it might take some experimenting. You might try it on Facebook and realize, our fans aren't here on Facebook. We need a Reddit group or subreddit or whatever. Like wherever they are, that's where you want to sort of just put in the effort to foster that community. And you might have a couple, stumbles and fits and starts. That's okay. It's totally fine. Failure is part of the game.
Yeah.
It's all good.
It's part of the deal. Yeah. There are no such things.
Yeah, there is. Right. There's
failure is not an option. Yeah.
Failure is not an option.
Ahead. No, it's not.
No, it's not. Yeah. I love it. We talked about a lot of things. Tell people where they can find you, what you've got going on, please. And if there's anything else you want to share, by all means, I'm here to chat, but I don't want to, I want to be respectful of your time too. And I really appreciate the time you spent with us. So where can people find you? What do you got going on?
Likewise, man.
Yeah.
Our best internet stuff is, we got a website. It's just mallettbrothersband.com.
Okay.
Our most active social media is probably Instagram and Facebook. And then there's also, like we were talking about, the fan page on Facebook, which you got to dig a little more to find, but that's where all the characters are and a lot of the cool, funny stuff.
Cool.
And then we got a lot of shows coming up. We just announced kind of summer tour schedules. So a whole lot of shows through the summer, everywhere from Maine to like North Carolina. And most importantly, we got a new album that just came out that you can stream it wherever you want. It's called Higher Up in the Hills. And you can buy the CD if you want.
You can pre-order the vinyl.
You can
That'll be
pre-order
out
the vinyl.
in another 2 months. Maybe we'll have vinyl back, but you can.
Have you done vinyl for previous records?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay.
This is I think the third release we've done in vinyl. Yeah.
Nice.
People always want it. It's hard to order it, and it's a long turnaround, but people like it, so we try to have it.
It's expensive and time consuming and all the things, and it sells out immediately.
Yeah, it's worth having. It's worth having on the table for sure.
It totally is. Yep.
Yeah.
I'm trying to think when we did vinyl with the most recent Bitter Pill record. I guess we still have a few around, but like our initial allotment sold out right away. It was like, I guess we should have been doing this all the way through. Okay.
Best case scenario.
Yeah, that's the best case. Yeah, it's certainly whatever we have on the merch table it's just gravy at this point because I think we've paid for the production run and all that stuff. So it's great. Yeah, it's good. It's great. Guys, thank you so much for taking the time. This has been amazing. I love that we got to know each other, and I'm still shocked that we live so close and we've never wound up at a festival together or whatever, but I will fix that. Of course. Absolutely. Yeah.
We'll have to do something. Yeah.
Bitter Pill and Mallett Brothers, like the music styles would fit great together, which is why I'm surprised somebody else hasn't put that together yet.
It's all on us.
Well, that's it. We got to do it ourselves. Yeah, man. Yeah. Thank you. There are 3 words that we love to say to our audience, and I say it all the time. So if you guys would or if we can somehow coordinate it, both of you, I don't know how the internet's going to let that happen, but if one or both of you would take the honors to say those 3 words, I would be honored.
Always.
Can we do it?
Yes.
Wait, let's go. 1, 2, 3. Always be performing.
Yes.
I love it. That was brilliant.
I was not in sync.
It's almost like you guys playing a band together.
Yeah. Who's starting this?
That's right. Who starts this song?
Who counts this one?
Who counts this?
Yeah. Well, thanks, pleasure, folks. Dave. Yeah, thank you.
Real pleasure. Amazing. Thanks for doing this. Thanks for hanging out, everybody. And we'll put all the links in the show notes at giggabpodcast.com. And we'll see you next week. Thanks.
Thank you.